Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 10th work session of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I will call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner, Vice Chairman Morris to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings we receive. Please give us the guidance and the strength to make the right decisions for the citizens of Harnett County. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, this time we'll consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the agenda as stands.
Second.
Excuse me, Chairman. One thing, due to the absence of the other two board members, we'd ask that we delay the tour of the wastewater treatment plant until a future meeting date.
Okay.
Okay? Approve the
Sounds
amended
good to me.
agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will approve the amended agenda. We discuss a request for the approval of the fireworks application for Lillington. Mr. Larry Smith, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. The first one I've got is the fireworks permit for Lillington's 4th of July. That's from Pyro East Coast. They meet all the safety requirements, all the code requirements for the event, and the plan's been reviewed already and approved.
This is their standard 4th of July?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure of the board to add this to the consent agenda for next week for approval.
I don't know who this is. What?
We'll add this to the consent agenda for next week.
Yeah, whatever y'all want to do.
We'll go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for approval next week. Thank you. You're up again, sir.
This one is for Anderson Creek Club. It's the same company doing this, meets all the safety requirements. The plans have been reviewed and meet every requirement.
Okay? So, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead and add this to the consent
Yes.
agenda for approval as
Yes.
well.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Discuss a request for approval to pursue a countywide EPA grant. Mr. Stephen Barrington, good morning, sir.
Hey there, good morning. We'd like to seek your permission to pursue a EPA Brownfield grant in conjunction with Terracon. This grant would allow us to assess 15 to 18 different sites should we be awarded. It will also allow us to do some phase twos on about 8 sites if it's necessary.
okay? Is it a matching grant?
It is not.
100%?
That is exactly correct.
Oh, yeah, we'll take some.
Very nice. Board as well?
And we'll not know if we are awarded until next May of 2026, but
We'll go ahead and add this to the consent agenda as well.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Discuss a request to approve the Harnett County Sheriff's Office Detention Center's health plan. Mr. Gary McNeil, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Each year, we have to review the health plan for that's provided by Southern Health Partners. They've reviewed it, approved it. We have to have the health department, so Ainsley's approved and signed off on it, and the sheriff's office and Sheriff Coates has reviewed and signed off on it. So the last approval comes from you.
All right, thank you, sir. Add this for approval as well.
Yes.
Go ahead and add this for approval as well, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Discuss a request to approve NCDOT certifications for Community Transport Program. Mr. Baird Blevins, good morning, sir.
Good morning, moving right along. So this is a normal thing we do every year, ask the board to approve their certifications and assurances for the grants that we received from NCDOT 5311. We budgeted it in the budget request. The total amount is $688,470. And again, this is something we do every year. Is there any questions?
Questions? Comments?
I mean, no match from us or nothing?
88,000.
Yeah, 688,000. There's a local match of 865, which again is included in the budget
Okay.
request, excuse me.
All right, it's already in the budget. I got you. Good.
Go ahead and add this for approval as well, Madam Clerk. And discuss a request to approve a vehicle disposition and assign title of transit vehicles. You're up again, sir.
Yes, sir. So this may take a couple minutes, but generally what it is that we had a vehicle wrecked in 2021, which was totaled out. The useful life for a transit vehicle in order for it to just be replaced outright is 100,000 miles. We were at 94,000 at this particular time. So as a casualty loss, the county received $25,350. That is actually $26,000, but the match to it was $1,000. The issue became we could not. It was during a time when all the manufacturers were not building vehicles, and in one instance we had to get vehicles from the state of Oklahoma under their contract in order to fulfill a couple years back vehicles. So the point being is that we couldn't find one. We tried to find a used one to replace it because it's part of their inventory. So let me backtrack a little bit. Every vehicle that we purchase through the capital plan belongs to the state, and we maintain it until it's replaced, and then it becomes the property of the county. So in this case, this vehicle was still their property, and they wanted us to replace it. But again, we went through a lot of trouble to get a vehicle. We could never find one. And this was a vehicle that had a lift, and those are those are hard to find. So we just kept the money. So then we started negotiating with DOT because we needed to get this off the books and figure out a way to get this vehicle replaced. What we did, Chance and I offered to send the money back, and their answer was, if you send the money back, that means your inventory will be reduced by one. So for 23 vehicles or 24, we will reduce that by one, and we will never replace it again. So we discussed it for over it took a couple months, if I remember, to going through it back and forth to get IMD's permission. And what they decided was that because we had a county-owned vehicle of the same type, that they would allow us to move that vehicle into their inventory. Now, this vehicle's got 315,000 miles on it. Move it into their inventory. We keep the $25,000, and then once we do that, it would immediately become eligible for us to replace under the grant. So I know it's kind of tricky on how it goes, but
There's a lot of shit.
we did some moving around on the shelves to try to get this done. So I think the benefits are we get a new vehicle for 27, because it'll have to be on the 27 application with a smaller match than $25,000. We maintain those vehicles the same way, whether they're ours or the state's. We maintain them exactly the same. This particular vehicle, we had 3 county-owned vehicles during this time, and those vehicles we kept up, and we've started rehabbing them. We're not rehabbing this one if the board approves us to do the title change over to the state. So what we'll do is maintain it. If it needs a transmission, we'll replace that in our budget, but we're not going to rehab it. We're not going to do all the major changes to it. And then once they replace it, it's still the county's vehicle. It once again becomes the county's vehicle, and we can sell it or use it as the county wishes.
Well, I say, put it on the agenda. I mean, it don't cost us nothing the way he explained it, but there's a lot of moving and shifting there.
There's a lot of things moving around, but it's taken us a while, and I know we've never done that before, but with the IMD helping us out, I think it's a fairly good deal, because we've been using the vehicle right on.
Who came up with that?
So
Got creative with
Has
that.
the council been involved in these decision making?
I'm sorry.
Has legal counsel been involved in this?
I don't know. Actually, I don't think we've talked about it, because it's just a title change. It was the county's vehicle.
That's right.
And I apologize, Chris. I didn't even think nothing of it.
What I'm going to suggest, Mr. Chairman, is we leave this and put these on for further discussion for next week, and let Mr. Appel get with Barry and make sure we're covered.
All right, that works. Will that be fun?
Well, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Sir?
I said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Honestly, I didn't consider it because of the title.
I understand, I
Yep.
understand. but
I'm good with it. I'm good with
And
it.
nobody's doubting your ability here, but there's a whole lot of shells getting moved around and trying to keep,
There's a lot of shit.
and just to make sure we're on solid legal footing on this.
I appreciate
agree with
that because, yeah, I want to stay up here again.
All right, we'll go ahead and add this for a line
I
item next
agree with
week.
that.
Chris, if you can go ahead and just double tap that, that'd be awesome. All right, Development Services briefing. We've got one upcoming zoning change. Ms. Sarah Arbor, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I hope you're all well this morning. Sarah Arbor, Development Services. Bringing before you case plan 2505-0001. This is a requested rezoning from the RA40 zoning district to the commercial zoning district. The applicant is Hunter Winstead from the Morningstar Law Group, and the property is approximately 1.96 acre property, which is located in the Hectors Creek Township on US 401 North and Fuquay. So the property can be described as a vacant, unimproved site, which was formerly used for agricultural purposes. The property is also bound by a railroad on the western property line. Surrounding land uses consist of single-family homes, a storage facility, a religious structure, a memory care facility, and agricultural activities. Next, we'll take a look at the services available for the site. Public water is available, and public sewer is not currently available for the site. And we will review the transportation information. So the property is situated along US 401 North and Piney Grove Rawls. There are approximately 10,000 daily trips along this section of US 401 North and 11,000 for the section of Piney Grove Rawls Road. Staff did want to point out just that although it does look, this property situated at the intersection of Piney Grove Rawls and US 401 North, it does not currently have access to Piney Grove Rawls. This is because of a piece of property just located to the north where a small portion of that is actually situated between the subject property and the right-of-way. This could maybe change in the future if the owner of the property were to maybe acquire the land to the north, or potentially, if the intersection requires a realignment when it is signalized in the next few years due to the Serenity development to the north. Next, we'll review the zoning district compatibility map. So here on the map, you can see that there are other properties which are zoned commercial in the vicinity, including the one just to the south of the Rawls Church Road intersection with US 401 North, which was recently rezoned to commercial. The land use classification compatibility map does show that this property is located in the commercial mixed use land use area. This is an area that has been, these are areas which are located along major roads, and they do include a mix of commercial land uses with some residential uses. So the requested rezoning is compatible with the underlying land use. There have been photos of the property, the road views, as well as the surrounding land uses, which have been provided for the board's review, as well as staff's evaluation. So as staff moved through our evaluation, we were able to answer everything in the affirmative. Staff did find that the area is characterized by a mix of residential and commercial land uses, that the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district are appropriate in the area, and that most importantly, that the requested rezoning is compatible with our underlying land use. So at the planning board, the board did vote 5-0 to recommend approval of the proposed rezoning. There were 2 residents who attended the meeting and did speak in opposition of the proposed rezoning. They expressed concerns mainly regarding traffic congestion and public safety, as well as the potential impacts on the adjacent property, depending on where the future driveway connection takes place.
Isn't there a proposed stoplight at Piney Grove Rawls and 401? Do we know how far out it is, Mark?
It's right. I know. It's not far.
Ma'am?
It's not far from there where you turn on that Piney Grove Road. But my concern is, and that was the concern that I had when it came before us some months ago, the traffic. And you have put us, and I see that DOT have put a stoplight there. So that alleviates some of the traffic there, because I travel that road pretty much. But my biggest concern is, that railroad track. That railroad track is right there, regardless of what they put on that land, that railroad track is gonna be a problem there. And you said your board voted what?
So the board did vote to approve it, and they did that unanimously. It was 5-0. Yes, ma'am.
Any questions or comments for staff?
And Commissioner Morris, we can certainly look into the traffic light to see
Yeah, I'm just curious,
the
because
timeline on that.
It came up in the discussions on the last one there at Rawls Church, which is obviously right up the street. If I'm not mistaken, Serenity's involved in having to contribute to that. To get some kind of timeline.
Yeah, we'll look at that, see if we can have.
I'd just like to know.
They've already moved the money, I think, to DOT, but I think it's a lot threshold, so whenever it hits a certain number of lots, then that triggers that to happen. But we'll double check that.
We want to make sure to have all the relevant detail because we're rapidly closing in on Rawls Church and their cemetery.
Yes.
And I can assure you, we're going to get asked about it. So,
We'll go ahead and put this on for a public hearing next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Discuss a request to approve Harnett Regional Water write-offs. Mr. Tommy Burns, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. This agenda item is for write-off set through December of 2024 to the NC Debt Set-Off Program. It's $39,916 that we'd like to send for the past couple quarters. And that goes back to 2022. We do this on a couple years at a time. To date, we've recovered $933,000 through the Debt Set-Off Program. Be happy to answer any questions on that item.
Questions or comments? Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for approval. And sir, you're up again to discuss land purchase agreement.
Commissioners, you know, sometime back, we began work on the Irwin Water Treatment Plant project. Since that time, we have looked at acquiring some additional property that's adjacent to our existing property in Irwin for this project. And we would like to ask your approval to purchase the real property from the Angle family that is identified in your agenda item. We do have an option to purchase on this property that we acquired back in May of 2025. And I would like to move forward with that purchase if, with time being of the essence on that. I've got a few more weeks of due diligence period remaining on that, and we've completed all those tasks, so we'd like to move forward.
Questions or comments? Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for approval next week as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Discuss a request to approve a land purchase agreement for Anderson Creek landfill. Mr. Christopher Appel, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I know Melissa's going to try to pull up on the GIS, the property, because I don't have the final deed in the packet. If you recall, we discussed some land out by the Anderson Creek landfill along Poplar Drive that's owned by Welco Contractors. The deal was to purchase 9.12 acres between Poplar, and there it is. It's already been subdivided by Welco Contractors, but it's 9.12 acres between Poplar Drive and the Anderson Creek landfill. We've agreed to purchase that acreage. That would create a buffer between the landfill and a proposed development, residential development that's going in on that land there. And in exchange, we would also terminate an existing easement on the northern portion of that new property that goes from Poplar Drive to the Anderson Creek landfill. So The agreement is to pay the $45,000 for that acreage and then terminate the portion of that easement that goes from where it turns there at the top of the Poplar Drive to the Anderson Creek landfill. It won't affect Anderson Creek landfill operations. The entrance continues to be on Poplar Drive at the bottom there on the south side, and it won't affect future use or expansion of the landfill. So we just ask that this be put on the agenda for approval.
Questions, comments? Pleasure of the board.
Good to me.
Go ahead and add this to the agenda next week for approval. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Discuss America's 2050 NC grant. Mr. Brent Trout. Good morning,
Thank
sir.
you, Chairman. This morning, I'm bringing up this American 250 NC grant, which is a grant that was received in order to help Harnett County celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We were able to use this grant money to research people that were from Harnett County that played a significant role in the Revolution War for independence. The intent of this is to create a static display for learning that will eventually endure to the public library, and also look at probably an oral presentation about these individuals that were important part of the Revolutionary War. Basically, every county was allowed to apply for this money, and we did and received the $10,000. Today, what I'm asking for is for volunteers that are interested in serving on this committee to develop our display and the events that we'll have related to this. So anyone that's interested can email me at btrout@harnett.org, and we'll put you on the list. And the committee can be as large as those that want to serve. There'll be plenty of work for everyone in order to put this forward, and hope to have some celebrations in June timeframe related to all of this. So if you're interested, please email me and we'll add you to the list.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Then up next is you again for,
Can I ask the question on that?
yes,
What is
ma'am.
it on?
Yep.
Can this money be used for anything other than some government entities?
Yes, we can hire individuals to do research and individuals that maybe we would look to have be our presenters at an oral presentation related to this history. So we can, as a committee, determine how we want to utilize those funds in order to create our celebration. So there'll be opportunities. If we need to hire some individuals to do research, we can do that. We can pay for mileage to go to locations if we need to dig through archives somewhere. So there's a lot of uses for that money. We will just have to itemize each expenditure when we submit it, and then submit a report back to the state on how we utilize the funding.
Outstanding. Yep. Okay, now we'll discuss the 25-26 recommended budget. Ms. Lisa McFadden, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So today we're looking for some guidance to finish up our recommended budget so we can have the budget ordinance ready for your approval next week. So to follow up on some items from last week's discussion, we were instructed to come up with our adjustments for Harnett County Schools. So for continuation and expansion, the new total is right at $40 million. We're going to set aside in contingency pending low wealth funding, which was the total amount lost last fiscal year, which was a little over $5.7 million. So the $45,716,364 was the total amount requested by Harnett County Schools. And when we do the math, the increase per pupil funding went to $1,810.40, which is almost $395 per student over last year. Since last week, the following changes have been made to the budget. We increased the fund balance allocation by almost $12 million, and that was to cover the increases for funding Harnett County Schools. It's also accounting for we got an aging department grant, so that was also the changes were made there. The new social worker 3 position was added. We had to add the administrative costs for the Alliance Health allocation. In Harnett Regional Water, there was a $60,000 request to repair some equipment. We've also made the adjustments for the capital reserve fund for the GIS and IT office relocations and renovations in the sheriff's office vehicle replacement through the enterprise fleet. So that brought our general fund operating budget up a little over 8.5 million. So it's now at $195,506,342. There is no change for Harnett Regional Water and Solid Waste. Our fund balance appropriation is now a little over $20 million, and our estimated fund balance would drop to 17%. So what we need some guidance on you today are the following 3 items. The recommended budget, we didn't include any funding for nonprofits, but we did receive a request this past week from Johnston Lee Harnett Community Action Group, and they are requesting between $25,000 and $50,000. And that would help support job training, child care assistance, back-to-school programs, emergency utility and rent support, and a few other items.
Pleasure of the board. Do you have any input for the community action group?
Well, it's a nonprofit, and I think that we have all agreed that I don't care. Because I just believe in doing things and doing right when you make a decision. But I see that this board don't want to do things when they make agreements as to how things are supposed to go. I am not going to speak against this because I would love to see it happen. So what I would say, if everybody else is in agreement, I will be in agreement too. I'm not going to make no motion on it because I believe in doing things in the right way. When are we going to get a nonprofit bylaws? When are we going to get the nonprofit bylaws so we can make these decisions? And when we do that, by going by the bylaws, it would be fair for every nonprofit organization in this.
We're, Coley, where are we at with that? We've been discussing reactivating that committee.
Well, bylaws have been created and guidelines, we just haven't brought it for approval because there hasn't been funding allocated to do it. So if there's funding, we're happy to present it and move forward.
Okay.
That's the only reason why that hasn't come before the board at this point.
Right. Okay. Right on.
Well, don't you think it should be brought before the board when we're making decisions to give nonprofit money to different organizations?
I mean, if that's the direction of the board to go ahead and get bylaws approved, that's more than happy to do that. That's just why we hadn't brought it yet, just because there hasn't been funding to go through a committee.
Gotcha. Can you put together a presentation just of those bylaws so we can go ahead?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just want to make it very clear. Those bylaws were approved unless you have drawn up new bylaws. And those bylaws were done by our attorneys and state. So I don't understand the issue. Either we're gonna do it right and buy bylaws and let everybody agree to the bylaw. I don't see a problem with it. Go years ago we did it, and what is the big problem now?
Yeah.
Except for I am not going through that. So.
Right. Yeah, and we did have, obviously we had the committee before. This was just updating. I think the last thing we did is we
we've
updated.
been updating for a long time.
Yes, ma'am. And like I said, the only reason we did the update and didn't come back for approval updates just because we haven't done the funding in a couple of years. But as the chairman said, I'm happy to go ahead and bring it forward with any changes that we have.
Well, that still doesn't make any sense to me because you should have the bylaws in place when you do. So when you do allocate funding, everything would be done in the proper way.
Yes,
I'm just
Right,
saying that This has been going on and on and on and on and on for a couple of years now.
So we looked at the possibility of updating the bylaws, and the board decided not, it was a decision not to put it on the agenda to move those new changes to the bylaws until we receive funding. But we can definitely go ahead and move forward and present that. And then that way there, any changes, and the changes were not significant. They were very minor. And so we decided not to, the decision was made not to move them forward, but we'll bring them to you for consideration.
I certainly appreciate it simply because I sit on the committee to draw up those bylaws, and state government, school of government approved those bylaws.
Right. And then, as I stated, if I recall correctly, the changes were very minor.
Right, yeah, just based on best practices changes. But as I said, we'll put it on a work session, bring it before you, and we can approve those.
Perfect.
I like that. Thank you very much. I'm not trying to give you a hard.
Yes, ma'am, I completely
But this is
understand.
something I've been discussing for years now.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe in throwing business out there and just leave it sitting. And then what happens is you give funding to some organization, then and that's, but the whim, and not have no bylaws in place as to how we do it. Now, I do know that this is a very credible organization. And what it says here, what they do. They take care of the children. They have head starts here for those kids, and I don't know what would happen to the parents of those kids if that organization wasn't here in Harnett County. And not only in Harnett County, it's in Johnson County, and it's in Lee County. So I'm hoping that we can put the bylaws in place so we can move on some of this stuff.
Did we give them any funding allocations last year?
No.
No?
That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That doesn't matter whether we fund it or not. The bylaws need to be in place.
I understand that. Okay, so right now, we're not gonna take any action on this, so I'm hearing.
Yeah, because I brought up an issue last week after the meeting to, EMS funding. So let me talk about that.
You wanna set something for next week?
Yeah,
or-
send them, because they have to give them time to look.
Okay, we'll go ahead and discuss this next week as well. I know that you're trying to get the budget approved next week, but if we can go ahead and address the EMS concern as well.
Thank you.
And Harnett Regional Water is requesting to add one water quality lab fee to their fee schedule. We're already charging for that now, but we want to add that too, and it's for the fecal coliform fee. And the last item is Harnett Regional Jetport is recommending that we add 6 new fees, and that's only because these situations have come up since the recommended budget was presented. And these are for overnight fees for aircrafts, aircraft towing, monthly parking of vehicles that remain in the parking lot for an extended period of time, and an aircraft wash station fee.
Is there any issue with the fees for the water treatment plant as well as the Jetport? Y'all have any issues with the recommended fees?
I just think the whole board should discuss.
Okay. We'll go ahead and add this next week for consideration.
We'll roll it into the budget. That's how we'll handle it as far as
Yes.
considering it. And then, so if you approve the budget, you'll approve these new changes.
Okay.
That works.
And do y'all have anything else you want to add before we put together the budget ordinance?
But when it comes to the EMS fees, I think you were referring to that some were requesting more than we gave them. Based on the calculations that we did, there were some departments that were requesting would probably be a 20% increase, and we recommended a 10% increase to all those fees. Each department amount has been in the past, we've given a blanket amount, even though some requested more than others, just in order to be fair as to how much we were increasing in budget to each department. And that does leave a shortfall for some, but we try to try to be fair across the board as to what we're providing to each of them. So we'll provide some data as it relates to that and finalize that in the budget.
And Brent and I have talked about this. One of the things that's happening is, I pick on Irwin a little bit. They're having to go into their fire tax money to cover their EMS side. That's what those taxes are intended for. So figure out, take a look at it, see if there's any way to fix that. They're gonna want a 1 cent tax increase last minute of fire tax to cover those expenses.
They're supposed to cover me.
Ma'am?
Cedar Irvin's supposed to cover it, right? Irvin is supposed to cover that, right? But you asking us to fund.
No, ma'am, it's where we normally, it's for service they provide.
Okay,
It's not the city or,
okay. I just want some clarity there. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? No? Thank you very much. All right, County Manager's Report, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Chairman. If you are interested, I brought to you that the I-95, I-40 Crossroads of America Alliance is putting a lot of the final touches on their renovation they're doing at the Magnolia School. If you're interested in signing one of the beams that they're putting into that facility, they'd like you to come over and do that today. So if you happen to be over in the Dunn area, sign that. Today, staff from the manager's office will be going up to visit the General Assembly today, meet with our legislators, and also participate in advocacy days with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners putting on today. Also, there's a program that's coming up on June 20th from 9 to 2, and that is health departments working with North Carolina MedAssist to provide over-the-counter medications for free. If you're interested, you can go online and put in your order prior to June 13th. So take a look on our website for that information. It's free over-the-counter medications for individuals. And that's all I have, Chairman.
Outstanding. I understand we have a need for a closed session.
Yes, we do. Mr. Chairman, we have a closed session to discuss a certain economic development matter and to consultation with the county staff concerning the possible consequences of real property by the county. Is that not right?
Motion and a second to go into closed session. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We'll move into closed. Easy signing today.
So I'm gonna get together with Gary and we're gonna look at Oscar call. Concern is,